Hello, everyone, and I spread my warm wishes, best wishes to all of you in all directions from here and all around the globe. So thank you for being part of this. So the topic of this week is delusion, and I think it's helpful to keep in mind, or consider at least, that delusion, the way it operates in a conscious way, is through thoughts, through the thinking mind. We have ideas. Delusion has to do with ideas of what's there, whether it's verbal ideas or we have imagery of things. Some people think more in images than in thought, than in words. And so the one of the, we'll talk more later about how to practice with delusion, but for now I'd like to keep it very simple, because simplicity is what can help us see delusion. When the mind is complicated with lots of thoughts and ideas, it's much harder to see. It's kind of like a piece of cloth which is filled with stains. It's hard to see one more stain. But if the cloth is stain-free, then a single stain stands out. So a simple mind sees more clearly what's going on, because we can see when when things arise, when things appear. And so in that delusion has its connection with thinking. I want to offer a very simple practice around thinking today. And that is that as you meditate, if or when you have thoughts, you notice yourself thinking. This is an important part of mindfulness, to notice we're thinking, and sometimes we use mental note, thinking, or we just clearly are aware of thinking and then return to the breathing. But today, when you notice yourself thinking, gently, perhaps lovingly, say two words. And those two words are, not now. Just gently, not now. Now's not the time to be involved in this thinking. Now's the time for a quieter, calmer awareness that is not thought-based. So maybe it's sensation-based, or sensing-based, or observing-based, just kind of perceiving more directly, not through the medium of discursive thought, not through the medium of conversational thought, or analytical thought, or story thought. And so when this more active thinking of discursive thoughts and train of thinking begins, just tell yourself, not now. Not now. And then about halfway through, I'll offer two other words. We'll switch to something else. But just not now. And if you have long periods of time when you're not really involved in thinking, then you don't have to say those words. But when you find yourself, oh, now I'm in thinking, I'm pulled into that world, not now. And kind of like step back, step away, and then return to your breathing and stay with the physical sensations of the body breathing. And when the next thinking comes up, not now. And if you have to say not now, every 2 seconds, because thoughts just keep coming, do so gently, lovingly, so the not now is a balm for the mind and heart, if the medicine, so that the not now is a calming, reassuring, offering some degree of ease, of peace, of equanimity to what's there. So you're not fighting your thoughts, or just not now. And that repetition of not now, that different relationship to thinking than you normally would have, maybe where you get pulled into it or you believe it or react to it, maybe something will begin to shift. So taking a upright, posture, metaphorically or literally, and gently close your eyes. And taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. And as you exhale, imagine that you're letting your concerns and your thoughts drift away. As you exhale, those drift away and you settle into your body. Breathing in, breathing out. And then breathing, letting your breath return to normal. And for next 4 or 5 exhales, continue to relax, open your body. Wherever it's possible to soften and relax. And then settling into your breathing, settling into the rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. Settling into the body's experience of breathing. So you don't have to be up in the control tower watching or controlling. It's almost like awareness is centered in the body, in the body's experience of breathing. And then, in a way that seems peaceful, or peacemaking even, tell yourself the words, "Not now." See if you can say those words in your mind quietly. Quiet, calm, inner voice. Not now. And when you begin thinking, gently say those words. There's no not now means this is not the time for those thoughts. They can be picked up later. Not now. Without ambition or forcefulness, without even expecting thinking to stop. And if thinking continues, just gently say it again and again, allowing there to be an openness, a peacefulness in the moment after saying it. A moment of open awareness. And when there's no more thinking, or the thinking is not compelling, return to your breathing. to offer you two other words that you can say instead of not now. You can say the words, maybe not. These words still carry the meaning of not now. Maybe they can be short for maybe not now. But also they can be maybe it isn't so. Maybe it's not true. Maybe not. So as you find yourself thinking, peacefully say the words, maybe not, maybe it isn't so. And allow yourself to become free of whatever those thoughts are. And begin again with your breathing. As we come to the end of this sitting, take a moment to let go and do nothing, including not even thinking. Nothing you have to do or be or become. Just a few moments here of letting yourself rest as deeply as your psychophysical system can rest at this moment. Or maybe just putting to rest the effort to do or to meditate or to be or to figure anything out. And then to bring your attention to the part of your body where your goodwill lives, where love or care, compassion, kindness is born. The part of your body that resonates with it or vibrates or opens in the presence of loving kindness. And putting aside any thoughts that interfere with your basic simple goodwill, including the thought that it's not here now. And turning your gaze to the world around you, to the people in your lives, in your communities, across your lands, around the globe. And wishing them well. What a wonderful world it would be if people were happy and peaceful, if they weren't motivated by their anger, hostility, greed, fear. What a wonderful world it would be for all of us if the heart was motivated by its happiness. And so to wish welfare and happiness for all beings. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful and free. And may all beings be free of the delusions that give birth to fear and greed and hatred. May all beings be free of the delusions that keep them locked into their limited view of other beings. Free of delusions, may we all care for each other in this world. May all beings be happy. So the topic of today, the third talk on delusion, is practicing with delusion. And it can be hard because sometimes part of the nature of delusion is to not know that we're deluded, to not know the delusion kind of camouflages itself as truth or as this is the way things are, and so it can be hard to notice delusion, but it's possible to see delusion for it's what it is. It's possible to become free of delusion, and it's a really worthwhile goal because so much of the suffering of the world has some quality of suffering and harming, how we cause harm in the world, has some connection to delusion. So, first, it's helpful to have some wisdom that is an antidote to delusion. And there's many pieces of wisdom that are useful. And one of them is there's a I learned this as a Sufi story. The man came to a Sufi master with a ring and said, "Could you inscribe in this ring some piece of wisdom that's always useful for me?" And so a week later, the man came back to get the inscribed ring, and it said, "This too will pass." And so that simple expression, "this too will pass," can somehow cut through a certain delusion of permanence or expectation that it should be always this way or it will be this way, and it can free up. One of my favorite little stories about bringing wisdom is I heard the story is coming from China, and the way that approximately the story is told, it can be many little variations, is there was a farmer who was quite old and frail and could barely eke out an existence on his farm, but he had a son, a strong young man who could certainly help a lot. They were still very poor, but the young son could do a lot of the work. And they had an old donkey, a weak donkey that somehow was their main way of plowing and taking care of the farm also. And one day the donkey died, and the neighbor said, "Oh, this is terrible. I'm so sorry. You know, this is a terrible thing. And you're so poor." And the old farmer says, "We shall see." And then one day the son goes up into the mountains to collect firewood, and he finds a kind of a wild horse up there that's strong and stallion, and is able to bring it back. And the neighbors say, "Oh, you're so lucky." And the old man says, "We shall see." And as the son is training the horse, he falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And the neighbors say, "Oh no, you're so unlucky." And the farmer says, "We shall see." And then the local king recruits all the young men to go fight a hopeless war against the neighboring country. And but because the son broke his leg, he's not recruited. And the neighbors say, "Oh, you're so lucky that your son's not going off to war." And the farmer, of course, says, "We shall see." And so there's a wisdom to we shall see, not to be caught in the conclusions we can make and think that this is the way it is. So bringing some wisdom, and there's many kinds of wisdom we can bring, but wisdom and understanding like that only goes so deep. It's a nice medicine. It's a nice counter force to our tendency to delusion. But vipassana practice involves a deeper look at it. And I think of vipassana practice in relationship to delusion is a little bit of a practice for people who are well established in their mindfulness. Because, and so just developing mindfulness is an antidote to delusion. Because as we develop the capacity to recognize moment by moment what's happening, so we can recognize, oh, this is an emotion. I'm feeling sad or happy or angry or peaceful. There's a freeing moment in that clear recognition, and we're not entangled so much. And so all the different beliefs and ideas we have that entangle us are kind of put down. And that's a little protection from the delusive ways in which we're involved in our emotions and feelings. Same thing with the thoughts. As we learn to recognize we're thinking, there's a simple label, thinking, or remembering, or planning. That also, the clear recognition begins freeing us from the automatic way in which associations, beliefs, expectations, prejudice, bias are involved in how we relate to our thoughts, the quick ways that we believe it, or are horrified by them, or whatever it might be, the compelling way we feel like we have to think, it's necessary to think. And just thinking. It's such a peaceful thing to do, but it can be so freeing. As we begin finding this freedom and simplicity and strength and mindfulness, then it comes a time when we're able to better and better notice the arising, the beginning of a particular idea. And because we can see it arise, we're not kind of just lost in the sea of thoughts. We're not just kind of being swept along in the great currents of many thoughts, but we see the birth of a thought. That is a fantastic place where we could question it, where we say, is that so? Maybe not. Or let's see. Or we can see, that is a thought. It's just a thought. It's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily reality. And so, for example, if you see a person, a stranger, and somehow that stranger reminds you of this really strict elementary school teacher you had who you were really afraid of, and the person looks like that teacher, and so the thought comes up, the feeling, the emotion comes up, and the thought comes up that, this is a dangerous person. If we're kind of just going along and not noticing where these thoughts come from, and they just suddenly are there, it's easy for the mind to somehow just assume this is true and take it as being a true idea of what's out there. The person is dangerous. But if we can notice, that person is dangerous, that thought arises, and we see it just as a thought, then it's a powerful moment to both question the thought, is it true, but also to take a second look, to look again. What is really there in front of me? Who is this person? I don't know who this person is. It looks like my elementary school teacher. Let me take a good look. And in fact, the person does, that I look carefully at the person seems quite friendly. And so, but being able to see the arising of it, we can question, we can see, we can not assign so much authority to every thought. And we're more likely to question in a healthy way what's there. As we begin looking at these thoughts that arise, we begin recognizing some of them are regular patterns of the same kind of thinking. And when people practice mindfulness a lot, they start seeing patterns of thoughts. Like their pattern is that they always think the worst is going to happen, or they always think that people don't like them, or they always think that they should get what they want. It's all kinds of ideas like that. And when we start seeing patterns, then we start realizing, wait a minute, this is just a belief I carry, and to always apply this belief onto all situations, it is a kind of delusion. It's an imposition of ideas on something which is not necessarily appropriate, those ideas. And so then we can start looking at the pattern, say, that has a quality of delusion, to always be seeing through that filter. And then we can use our mindfulness to look deeper and see what's underneath that. What is the emotion that's driving that? Is there loneliness? Is there insecurity? Is there fear? Is there some kind of delusion of grandeur, or wanting to kind of create a sense of self that is a little bit of a fantasy? And it can be some desires we have, some thoughts we have, come from this fantastical way in which we want to kind of create an idea of who we are that is all good, or we create ideas about ourselves that are critical of ourselves. And so once we start seeing the patterns of thinking and delusion we have, we can start dropping down deeper into the emotional level and the places that are the sources within for why or how we think this way. Not by analyzing it, but we feel our way in. So practicing mindfulness of thinking in a deeper and deeper way connects us to the sources underneath where delusion is born. And this also then gives more freedom and a chance for something to resolve itself or release in a deeper and deeper way. Most delusions that we have their genesis in some clinging, something we're attached to. And delusions without attachment generally are not as dangerous as delusions that we're very attached to them. So there's a lot of words about how to practice with delusion, but the simplest way is to learn how to be mindful in the present moment and to be able to track the flow of present moment experiences we're having, so that in that flow of present moment experiences we see, oh, there's the arising of a feeling, sensation. Now there's a thought. And to have a settled mind that can watch this arising of thinking and then bring some wisdom to it. And maybe one of them is maybe not. Maybe it's not this way. Or we shall see. We shall see. Let's wait. Let's not come to some conclusion. And so to learn how to have thoughts arise and not take them as being conclusive is a powerful way of popping the bubble of delusion. Because the danger of delusion is often the authority we give them. And if we don't give them authority, it's easier to kind of see them for what they are. So practice mindfulness. It's such a great thing. And if you feel like practicing mindfulness is too much work, it's really, it's not, in essence, not really work. It's rather trusting that we can rest and be present for the deep capacity we have to be open, present, and aware of what is happening in the present without just open and present awareness. And we discover over time that this is the place of non-work, in a sense, that everything else is just a lot of work, a lot of agitation and stress in the mind. So enjoy your mindfulness, develop it, and let it become an intimate part of who you are. Thank you.